Hi, art friends. Thank you for coming on to this next step of our online journey together. And we're going to be looking at photography this week and especially looking at inspiration through everyday moments and also talking a little bit about the principles of art. So, I'm going to be sharing some glimpses of my everyday life and we'll chat about that here. So, the goals of my slideshow are to create a composition using everyday small moments. And just like in writing, when we talk about small moments that can share a whole experience, photography really can use the same strategy. I enjoy looking at routines or everyday experiences and finding the beauty and the artistic qualities in them. And you will see that in several of these, I tried to use my editing to make my photos look like paintings. Just really an experiment to add movement and unity to what I'm deciding to share. So, as you can see, these two pictures, one was taken right outside my front door, and one was taken on a little walking path that I go to from time to time, about 5 minutes from my house. And what I tried to do was in the first one, create some contrast between the warm colors of that sunrise and the oranges and reds, and combine with that blue, that cool blue, and the cool colors in the forefront of the foreground of the photo. So the browns and the little bit of grays in there as well. And then on the right hand side, you'll see I tried to capture the movement of the way that this tree and all of the leaves around it are growing. As you can see, it's all kind of growing to the right hand side. And I also wanted to capture the perspective and the depth of as you walk through, it's almost like a tunnel effect. So I love nature photography as well. As you can see, my children and my little dog are the focal point or subject of my photos here. One you might recognize is actually Nyack Beach a couple of years ago. And a couple of these other spots are hiking areas that we have gone to. And as you can see, my daughter is featuring a mask that she made. And my subject and my goal here was to really just capture the kinds of trips and hikes and events that we, you know, take part in every day or every week, simple things that I just kind of usually take a snapshot in my mind to capture memories and to also enjoy the nature that's all around us. So, what I tried to do was to make sure I'm creating unity and balancing my photos and creating harmony with all the colors and the textures and the patterns that I see in nature and in our surroundings. Now, this is where I tried to create some of my painting photo effects. So instead of having really sharp edges, which I like to do sometimes with patterns, especially if I happen to see animals like a butterfly and I really sharpen everything, I actually tried to do the opposite here and make everything really soft and blended. As you can see, especially on the left, it almost just looks like a watercolor painting. So that was just something I'm playing around with. I tend to like that because it almost gives it a dreamlike quality and again harmonizes everything to create a really soft effect and almost like you're remembering it in the future, thinking about the past. So these are some of my favorite pictures that I've taken of my children at different moments that we've had. And you can see that, again, on the left-hand side, the contrast with the right, that the left-hand side is pretty sharp. I tried to sharpen the focus on the texture of the wood in the sink. I tried to focus on the pattern of my daughter's dress, the symmetry in that. And I wanted to create the opposite effect in the picture of my son catching. So I tried to go for more of that painting like quality on that side. And I wanted to highlight the textures and the light and dark and the contrast in the picture of my daughter at the farm. So again, just completely different techniques with each of these photos. But these are really moments that I've captured in my mind and I wanted you to take a peek at them as well. So here with my subject, I have my daughter. It was a few years ago when she was very little, and she used to always dress up in, fairy wings and obviously a crown. And she had fallen asleep like that. And as you can see, my little pug named Boris is doing the same thing. And I decided to compose actually my slide, kind of echoing the same theme and also showing the same moment for each of them. So I also wanted to include the same colors and some of the same textures between the rug and the pillow and the blankets. So, just there, I wanted to create a kind of little story there and also create a little bit of a mood as well. So again, here's my daughter as my focal point, as my subject. And again, I tried to make the left hand picture really crisp and clean and sharp in the focus, so that you can see every little detail down to the little chip that's in the column in front of her, and just highlight every little bit. Now, on the other side, that particular day, I wanted to harmonize the picture a little more because everything kind of had this same light quality. Everything was kind of washed out and very pale. And I wanted to kind of harmonize and blend my daughter into the backgrounds a little bit. So I wanted to soften the colors and the sharpness of the edges and kind of create that almost an impressionistic effect. And then last but not least, I put these photos together because obviously one is more of an extreme close up of my dog, and then the other one is my son in a natural element. And I made him the focal point, even though he is at the very forefront. And there's obviously much more space with the trees in the backgrounds, but I wanted to create a point of him being really immersed in nature and to show that. And then I also wanted to highlight again that fact that I'm really sharpening the texture of the pillow and the blanket and the wrinkles of my dog and all of his fur. And then on the other side with my son, I'm just blending everything out, almost so he just becomes part of the wilderness or part of that story. So I hope that you really enjoyed these elements. Again, they're just trying to show that no matter what you're looking at, even if it's something really simple in your house or your pet or someone, in your family, you always have some kind of subject to take a picture of and something of interest. And especially if there's things that you enjoy and are really important to you, you can always make them into a beautiful memory. So that's really what I wanted to share here. And I know that you can absolutely do